Hey everyone, welcome to the Progressive Social Warriors. So I want to talk about Tulsi Gabbard. I want to talk about how she is a real champion of the progressive movement, how much respect I have for her, and in a time where people who we thought were real progressives keep disappointing the left. And I'm going to make a video on that certain individual who I'm sure you all know who I'm talking about. I want to talk, but this is a video for Tulsi, and this is a video about how she keeps over and over championing the progressive movement and having the backbone to speak out against not only the Republican Party but people in her own party. And when you can do that, because it's easy to speak against the Republican Party, but when you start going at your own party and start showing the people that you're really on their side, that's someone who you can trust. So let's break it down. I want to show her some love, because in recent weeks and some of my videos, I keep Tulsi's name is probably one of the most names that gets put in the comment section of how much people love her. So I want to break down what she's been up to and how week after week and month after month she keeps coming out and showing us that she's someone that we can trust. So let's break this down.
Aloha, I'm Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. As a veteran of 2 Middle East deployments, I know firsthand the cost of war. I know how important it is that our Commander-in-Chief has the sound judgment required to know when to use America's military power and when not to use that power. As a Vice Chair of the DNC, I'm required to stay neutral in Democratic primaries, but I cannot remain neutral any longer. The stakes are just too high. That's why today I'm endorsing Senator Bernie Sanders to be our next President and Commander-in-Chief of the United States.
And this is the first time I heard of Tulsi, is when she came out and did this. And ever since she's done this, she's just been proving herself over and over and how much of a champion she is for our movement. In a time where she knows she was going to be criticized and smeared, where every woman out there was supporting Hillary Clinton, she decided to stand on her morals. She decided to say, you know what? No, I am not going to have gender be my only vehicle on how I'm going to proceed on supporting in this election. And she stuck to her morals and came out and wasn't going to support someone in Hillary Clinton who was an interventionist, who was a warmonger, who was touting a no-fly zone in Syria and potentially starting World War III. And Tulsi wasn't about that. She wasn't about to support someone who had those views. And she came out and gave her position up in the DNC chair and knew she was going to be criticized, and yet still went out and did that. And how can you not respect someone for doing that? So let's keep going with this.
Thank you. Well, today Trump met with Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii. This is amazing what is going on here. Gabbard released a statement after the meeting saying, while the rules of political expediency would say I should have refused to meet with President-elect Trump, I never have and never will play politics with American and Syrian lives. For years, the issue of ending interventions, regime change, warfare has been one of my top priorities. Let me be clear. I will never allow partisanship to undermine our national security when the lives of countless people lay about. There's a woman, a politician, Kelsey, who is very anti-intervention, like yourself about this Middle East thing. She's against the whole regime change number. And now she's going there with a way of maybe saying, maybe we can cut a deal with Russia. Maybe there is a way to somehow end the bloodshed in Syria and keep us out.
Well, I mean,
that's what she believes.
She's an interesting person, and the people from Hawaii basically have her tabbed as extremely ambitious with flexible principles.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, Howard Dean is such a clown, man. And you're going to see Howard Dean is a recurring fixture when it comes to smearing and criticizing Tulsi, which I don't know if the DNC picked him to be their spokesman to smear Tulsi, but he's a clown who used to be a progressive and turned into a corporate shill. Once again, Tulsi out there not caring about what people think and standing up for what's the right thing to do and taking that meeting with Trump. Because, you know, she's out there trying to not have America in these pointless wars. And the Democratic Party was supposed to be the anti-war party. My ass. There is no anti-war party. Thank God there's people like Tulsi out there who's not look at who's in power and are they Republican or Democrat and looking at, you know what, if I can make a difference and stop us from being in these pointless wars, then I'm going to do that. And I give her all the credit in the world for being that type of person.
Talk a little bit about your legislation to stop arming terrorists, if we can. You have been very outspoken about the U.S.'s involvement with arming terrorist groups and providing funds. Can you tell us a little bit about what the legislation will do?
Sure. You know, this is something that I've worked on since the people of Hawaii elected me to come here and work for them here in Congress. And people might not be surprised to know that it is illegal for you or me or anyone else here in America to provide any type of support or assistance to terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda or ISIS or those groups that are affiliated with them. If we broke this law, we would be thrown in jail. But what might surprise people and what really makes me angry and curdles my blood is that the U.S. government has been violating this law by directly using American taxpayer dollars to support allies, partners, people coordinating with and working with groups like Al-Qaeda.
An investigation for these.
And who do you know is going to come out and do that? There's only a handful of politicians out there who are going to come out and tell you that, yeah, by the way, we're supplying these terrorist groups with weapons when it comes to our personal interests. If these organizations are willing to help us and on our interests, we're willing to fund them weapons whenever they need them. And yet we're going to turn around and tell the American people that we're fighting terrorism? What a joke. And thank God there's people like Tulsi out there who are speaking the truth about stuff like that. So
horrific chemical weapons attacks. I'll be the first one to denounce him. But the key is now with President Trump's reckless military strikes last night, it flew directly in the face of the action that the UN was working on at that time to launch an independent investigation, to find out exactly what the facts are, who was involved and who was responsible.
Howard, how do you respond to Tulsi Gabbard?
I think it's outrageous. Can't imagine what could possibly have been going through her head.
Again, Howard Dean. Wow, he's such a loser. I don't know, Howard Dean. I could tell you what's going through her head. Maybe she wants to, instead of being impulsive and potentially starting another war and putting American lives at risk for pointless wars, maybe she wants to have an investigation and see what really happened before we just start launching missiles into another country illegally. I don't get it, man. I don't get this Democratic Party who says they're anti-war, and yet there's someone in their party who's really championing the anti-war sentiment, and yet they go out and try and smear her. It's a joke, and good on you, Tulsi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm rising today to urge my colleagues to support H.R. 1227. The Ending Federal Marijuana Prohibition Act.
There's a bill before.
Once again, sorry guys, I keep having to stop it here and there, but you know, I just want to quickly touch on each thing that she's doing. She keeps signing off on legalizing marijuana, and why have marijuana even as an illegal substance? Me living in Canada, we're almost at the point of legalizing it throughout the whole country. And hopefully America will follow suit and do the same, because there are states that, more and more states out there that keep legalizing it. So, you know, Tulsi knows that having marijuana as an illegal substance is a joke. Thank God for Tulsi standing up.
The House right now called, well, it's Medicare for All, but it's H.R. 676. And I guess the simplest way to talk about it is that it basically expands what is currently Medicare, but it increases the eligibility to everyone to make sure that everyone has access to basic health care services. Recently signed on to legislation that would allow us to import from Canada, where these very same prescription drugs are far cheaper than any of our residents can get here.
Signing off on universal health care. Signing off on getting lower prescription drugs from Canada. And then you got people like Cory Booker who are going out there saying that, oh, I didn't sign off on that bill because I wanted to check the safety standards of Canada. Let me tell you something. Living here, our safety standards are more than adequate when it comes to our prescription drugs. No one in Canada is dying from unsafe prescription drugs. And we all know why he did that, because he gets paid off by the health industry and the lobbyists. And Tulsi is not going to do that. She's going to stand up and sign for that universal health care and sign for that prescription drug bill. I don't know, man. This woman to me is absolutely amazing in what she's doing.
So get this. So Tulsi Gabbard came out the other day and she said, she said, when I was first elected to Congress, I promised that money wouldn't influence my decisions. I rejected money from Wall Street, Big Pharma, and others. Citizens United worsened the crisis of dark money influencing our country. We need to get corporate money and lobbyists out of politics. And then she made a real big announcement, and she said this. She goes, I've decided to stop accepting PAC lobbyist money. Bottom line, we can't allow our future to be driven and shaped by special interests.
Howard Dean wants her out of Congress.
Well, so I retweeted, and the corporate Democrat smears begin in 3, 2, 1. And I tagged Neera Tanden and Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And lo and behold, like clockwork, well, I do think Assad using chemical weapons to murder children is worse than lobbyists. So maybe that differentiates me from you, Tulsi.
And like I said, she knows she's going to get smeared every single time she comes out there and tries and champion the progressive movement, but she still comes out and does it. And there's a lot of other politicians who proclaim to be progressive who don't do that. And unless you're really fighting for us and standing up for us and willing to take criticism and smearing from other people in your party because you know you're doing the right thing, that's someone who's really on our side. And that's why I love Tulsi. And she's for Medicare for all. She's not going to take corporate money. She's for legalizing marijuana. She's for stopping endless and needless wars. I think she's amazing. I think she's a real true champion. If Bernie doesn't make that run and Tulsi does make that run for 2020, I'm sure they'll have a conversation on who's going to run. But if it ends up being Tulsi who runs, I'll have her back. I'll be supporting her 100%. And I know most progressives out there will be doing the same thing. So anyways, I just wanted to break down Tulsi and what she's been doing recently and hear your thoughts on what you think about Tulsi. And yeah, let me know in the comment section, all right? Thanks, guys.